Most marketing and communications teams are still running on systems that were built for a different era, one where channels were fewer, teams were smaller, and outcomes were fuzzier. Today, you're expected to operate with the speed of a newsroom, the precision of a performance marketer, and the storytelling finesse of a journalist, often at the exact same time. But while your competitors are integrating AI and automation into seamless marketing machines, you're still juggling spreadsheets, disconnected social calendars, clunky email platforms, and media lists that haven't been updated since the last reorg. The result? Fragmented campaigns, siloed teams, reactive execution, endless rework, parallel tactics, and a creeping sense that no one is steering the ship. You don't have a marketing strategy problem. You have a marketing operating system problem. Think of your marketing team like a symphony orchestra, except in this case, the musicians can't see the conductor. Everyone's playing from a different sheet music, and half the sections don't even know which piece they're performing. The outcome isn't just noise, it's missed opportunities, wasted resources, and frustrated stakeholders. Enter, you guessed it, the PESO model. On this week's SpinSucks podcast episode, we'll discuss why PESO is more than just another framework and how it transforms scattered teams into orchestrated systems. I'll show you how to tie it all to metrics executives actually care about and why it scales no matter if you're a team of 3 or 3,000. Welcome back to the SpinSucks podcast. I'm Gini Dietrich. The PESO model stands for paid, earned, shared, and owned media. It was originally developed by yours truly as a modern framework for public relations, but over the past decade or so, it's evolved into something much bigger, a blueprint for truly integrated marketing. Each quadrant represents a category of media you already use every day, whether you're buying Google ads, pitching reporters, posting on LinkedIn, or writing your weekly newsletter. The magic is not in the individual parts. It's how they work together. Most teams treat these channels as parallel tactics. Comms handles media coverage, marketing runs paid ads, social does its own thing, and content is somewhere in between. But parallel tactics don't produce momentum. They create more handoffs, more meetings, more lag. The PESO model isn't just a new way to organize your channels. It's a smarter way to run them. It turns those parallel tactics into a fully integrated program where each piece of content, campaign, or story flows across the right media at the right time. And because it's rooted in strategy, not just execution, it gives your work structure, alignment, and responsibility at a glance. Paid includes everything from boosted and native content to social ads and influencer partnerships to paid editorial. Earned includes media coverage, PR placements, influencer mentions, user reviews, and thought leadership. Shared includes social media, employee advocacy, community engagement, user-generated content, and brand evangelism. And owned includes your website, your blog, your newsletter, your webinars, your email list, your loyalty program, your white papers, any content that you fully control. When these four quadrants are integrated into a single system, you stop chasing vanity metrics and start building a marketing engine that produces measurable business results. Most frameworks help you think about your work differently. The PESO model helps you run your work differently. So think versus run. Think of the PESO model like an operating system, just like iOS or Windows runs in the background, quietly orchestrating how your apps, tools, and inputs function together. You don't necessarily see it, but you can rely on it every time you open an email, upload a file, or switch between platforms. The PESO model works in the same way. It doesn't replace your tactics. It makes them work better together. It aligns what you say, where you say it, and how you amplify it across every corner of your media ecosystem. Instead of managing 5 calendars, 4 workflows, and 3 versions of the truth, the PESO model gives your team a shared rhythm. It allows content created for one channel to be repurposed across others. Owned turns into shared, shared fuels earned, earned gets a boost with paid, and so on. It also transforms your data into insight. Rather than looking at isolated dashboards, web stats over here, media coverage reports over there, you can track how a single message performs across all of those touch points and how that performance maps to outcomes like traffic, leads, trust, and eventually sales. This is the shift from output to outcome, from fragmented tools to one connected system, from gut feel marketing to business aligned communications. You don't need a bigger tech stack. You need an operating system that helps the one you already have actually deliver on its promise. Before the PESO model, most teams default to what my team and I refer to as parallel execution. PR sends out a release, social posts are scheduled in a vacuum, paid ads run on a totally separate strategy, and content marketing lives off in its own lonely corner. Everyone's working hard, but they're not necessarily working together. The result of that, of course, is disconnected campaigns, duplicated efforts, teams chasing short-term wins instead of compounding results. The PESO model changes that. It transforms reactive ad hoc activity into a beautifully orchestrated strategy where each media type amplifies the others. Let's say you're launching a new product. Before PESO, you'd probably send a news release, write a blog post, post on social media, create some social ads, hope someone notices. With PESO as your operating system, the launch becomes a coordinated play. Your own forms your foundation. You create a comprehensive product page, a detailed blog post, email to your list, and video content, all optimized for search and conversion. This is your source of truth. And then earn drives credibility. You pitch journalists and influencers with exclusive angles, directing them to your owned asset for further details. The coverage links to your content, boosting SEO and sending qualified traffic. Shared amplifies organically. Your team and community share the news, creating authentic buzz. User-generated content and employee advocacy extend your reach without spending a dime. Each share points back to your owned hub. And paid reaches new audiences, so you can target lookalike audiences based on your email list, retarget blog visitors if the cookies are turned on, and boost high-performing organic posts. Use paid to fill gaps and scale what's already working. One core message, 4 channels, a shared goal, clear attribution. This integrated approach creates signal, not noise. It ensures that your efforts reinforce each other rather than competing for attention. It also makes measurement easier when all media types point toward the same objective. It's far simpler to track what's working and why. PESO doesn't just break down those silos, it builds systems so your teams can stop reacting and start orchestrating. Here's the harsh truth. Executives don't care how many media hits you got this month. It's nice. It feeds their ego. But at the end of the day, they really don't care. They don't care how many followers your last campaign added. They care about outcomes, leads, revenue, market share, brand trust. That's where the PESO model becomes more than just a media strategy. It becomes a business strategy because it aligns all 4 quadrants to one shared goal. PESO makes it easier to translate activity into metrics that the C-suite cares about. No more squishy reports, no more eye rolls when you talk about engagement. With PESO, you can map your efforts directly to business results. For example, a spike in share velocity, how fast and wide your content spreads, can correlate with increased lead quality and conversion. Media impressions that drive website traffic and content downloads become a clear path to MQLs. Improvements in brand sentiment across shared and earned media can be tied to customer lifetime value and reduced churn. When you use PESO as your operating system, you move from counting what you did to proving what it delivered. It also shifts how you're perceived inside the business. You're no longer the team that gets us press or runs the socials or runs the paid ads. You become the team that drives visibility, credibility, and growth. You become a revenue enabler, a strategic partner, a driver of business performance. This is how you earn that seat at the leadership table, not by shouting louder, not by saying you deserve it, but by speaking the language of outcomes. One of the most powerful aspects of the PESO model is in its flexibility. You don't need a global budget, an enterprise tech stack, or 20 plus or a 20 plus or 2,000 person marketing team to make it work. In fact, some of the most scrappy and smartest executions we've worked on have come from teams of 3 people using a whiteboard and a shared Google Doc. At the same time, we've worked with multinational organizations to apply the PESO model across dozens of markets and departments, using it to align agencies, unify reporting, and create consistency across campaigns. It scales because it's not a tool, it's a system, and systems adapt. Start with a single campaign. Map it to the 4 quadrants. Where do you have content gaps, and what questions do you need to answer for customers and prospects? Which media outlets and digital sites in your industry accept contributed content, and how can you use that approach to earn links to your content? How will you share it while building community? And how will you amplify all of that work with paid? Even that one exercise can shift your team from tactical to strategic thinking and reveal opportunities you would have missed otherwise. From there, it grows with you. Roll it out across other campaigns, train cross-functional teams to use a shared language, build PESO into planning dashboards, reporting dashboards, and even performance reviews. Like any great operating system, PESO becomes more powerful the more you use it. And once your team sees how it turns chaos into clarity and effort into results, they won't want to go back, and neither will you. And here's the best part. Once you start thinking in PESO, everything from brainstorming to budgeting to reporting gets easier. It gives you a common language across teams, across departments, and across even your vendors. You're not reinventing the wheel, you're installing a system that actually helps the wheels turn. Now, in just a minute, I'll be back to talk you through how to use PESO to provide structure to all of the AI chaos happening in our industry right now. I'll be right back. Welcome back. So far, we've covered what the PESO model is, how it works, and why it's such a powerful operating system for aligning strategy, execution, and measurement, no matter your team size or budget. Now let's talk about what's next, how the PESO model helps you make sense of the explosion of AI automation and analytics tools that are flooding the marketing space, and how to turn those tools into accelerators instead of distractions. Let's start with how PESO gives structure to the chaos. AI, as you know, is everywhere right now. And if you're anything like me, it's both exciting and a little overwhelming. On any given day, you might get pitched 5 new AI tools promising to write your content, optimize your budget, forecast your leads, or automate your entire marketing funnel while you sleep. But here's the thing no one tells you. AI is only as smart as the system it supports. If your underlying strategy or system is scattered, your AI tools will just make you scattered faster. This is where the PESO model becomes a secret weapon. It gives structure to all of those inputs that AI needs and context to all of the outputs it creates. Instead of throwing AI at isolated problems, you use it to enhance a connected system. So let me walk you through a quick example. Say you're using AI-powered social listening to monitor trending topics in your industry. You notice a spike in conversation around a pain point your product solves. With the PESO model in place, here's what happens next. With earned media, you pitch a thought leadership article to your trade media context, framing your solution around that trend. Then you do owned. You publish a blog post diving deeper into the topic, embed a video, and optimize it for both traditional and generative AI search. Then with shared, your team, of course, shares it across channels, your advocates engage with it, and you join the conversation. And then you boost the post, retarget site visitors, and promote the original media mentioned to expand credibility. Now AI isn't just giving you a signal, it's helping you activate that signal across PESO in a structured, strategic way. That's the difference between reactive automation and responsive marketing. It works on the back end too. AI can analyze which earned placements are driving traffic, which shared posts are sparking engagement, and which owned media assets are converting. But if you're not using a system like PESO, that data just sits in separate dashboards. You miss the big picture. With PESO as your operating system, AI becomes a force multiplier, not just another shiny new object, even though the shiny new object is super fun. Let me bring this to life with another example. Say you're on a marketing team at a B2B software company and you're launching a new product feature. You've done the hard work, research, development, internal alignment, and now it's go time. Here's what that might look like without PESO. You write a blog post or you create a video demo. Someone on the team promotes it to LinkedIn. Maybe you send a customer email. And if you're lucky, you might pitch it to the media, but several weeks later, because we all know no one tells comms anything until it's go time. It's not those things are wrong. They're just disconnected. They're parallel plays, not a coordinated campaign. So let's flip the script and run that same launch through the PESO model. You start with a deep dive blog post that explains the feature's value. It links to a landing page with a demo video, and you send an email to customers with early access. You craft a pitch that ties the launch to a broader industry trend. You offer exclusive access to a journalist or influencer who publishes a story that links back to your blog post and/or landing page. Your executive team shares the coverage with their networks. Employees reshare the blog post and video. Customers chime in with testimonials or questions, and that creates engagement and organic visibility. And then you retarget everyone and anyone who visited the blog or watched the video. You boost the journalist article for social proof. You run ads promoting the landing page to a lookalike audience based on your current customers. All of this happens from one message, one asset, orchestrated across the four quadrants. And the results? Clear attribution, broader reach, deeper engagement, and better results. This is the power of PESO in action. Instead of doing more, you're working smarter. You're not reinventing the wheel. You're getting every part of the machine to work in sync. Now, one of the biggest benefits of running your marketing and comms through the PESO model is efficiency. Let's be honest, content creation is labor intensive and expensive. Whether you're investing internal hours, paying freelancers, or working with an agency, every blog post, video, byline article, or campaign asset represents time and budget. And too often, content gets published once and then disappears into the void. With PESO, you make every piece of content work harder because you're not creating in silos, you're creating for a system. So here's how that looks in practice. A single blog post becomes a LinkedIn carousel, a media pitch, a paid retargeting asset, a customer email, and a podcast topic. A data report becomes owned gated content, shared teaser graphics, earned coverage in trade media, and a paid ad campaign with key insights. A thought leadership article becomes a webinar, then a blog, then a downloadable checklist, then 5 social posts. Then you get the idea. This isn't just about stretching content for the sake of it, and it's certainly not about repurposing until you're blue in the face. It's about maximizing the value of what you've already created without duplicating effort or reinventing the wheel every time. It also gives your budget more breathing room. Instead of funding 4 disconnected campaigns, you invest in one integrated narrative that performs across multiple channels. When you build your content once and then run it through PESO, you create more reach, more consistency, and more return. Okay, by now you might be thinking, this all sounds great in theory, Jen, but it also sounds like a lot, and you're not wrong. PESO done well takes planning. But the good news is you don't have to implement it perfectly out of the gate. In fact, attempting to do so is one of the biggest pitfalls we see. Here are a few common traps and how to sidestep them. Number 1, treating the quadrants as silos. A lot of teams say they're doing PESO, but in reality, they're just labeling existing efforts. PR still owns earned, marketing owns paid, social owns shared, someone might or might not own owned, and nobody's talking to one another. PESO only works when the quadrants work together. Integration is not about ownership, it's about orchestration. You can also over-index on one quadrant, so paid can feel fast and easy. Makes sense. It's very, very measurable. Earned looks good in a board deck, and as I mentioned earlier, it's great for the ego. Shared gets likes, and we like big numbers, and owned is controllable. But the real power lies in the balance, where each quadrant plays a role in amplifying the other. If you're investing heavily in one area, ask how the others can support it. Another pitfall is to set it and forget it. Just because you've mapped out a PESO strategy once doesn't mean it will magically sustain itself. Like any system, it needs regular maintenance. What's working? What needs to be optimized? What can be repurposed? And then another one is that teams tend to start too big or try to take on everything at once. Trying to apply PESO to everything all at once is a recipe for burnout. Start with one campaign. Map it across the quadrants. Test, learn, refine, then scale. Trust me, imperfect PESO is so much better than no PESO at all. So don't let it overwhelm you. Start small, start with one campaign, see how it does, and then do a second one. Even a little integration goes a long way toward making your work more effective, more efficient, and more aligned with the business outcomes your execs or your clients care about. So don't wait until your team has the perfect org chart, the perfect tech stack, or the perfect content calendar. Start where you are, work with what you have, and build from there. The PESO model isn't a trend, it's not a buzzword, and it's definitely not just another framework. It's the system that powers modern marketing and communications, one that turns disconnected tactics into aligned strategy, vanity metrics into business results, and overwhelmed teams into confident, focused operators. Whether you're part of a lean team or are leading global campaigns, the PESO model helps you bring order to the chaos, make smarter decisions, and ultimately connect your efforts to outcomes that matter, such as revenue, trust, loyalty, and growth. So where do you start? Start with a quick audit. Grab a campaign you've recently run or one that you're planning, and then ask yourself, where do we have content gaps, and what questions do we need to answer for customers and prospects? Which media outlets and digital sites in our industry accept contributed content, and how can we use that approach to earn links to our content? How will we share it while building community? How will we amplify all that work with paid? That simple exercise will show you where your gaps are and where your biggest opportunities lie. From there, you can start building a marketing communications operating system that actually works. If you want to learn more about how to use AI to make you 4 times more productive without adding to the noise, join us in the SpinSucks community. It's a great place to get advice, brainstorm ideas, and build real relationships with your peers. You can find us at spinsucks.com/spin-sucks-community. That's spinsucks.com/spin-sucks-community. And make sure you follow us on LinkedIn, TikTok, and Instagram. We're posting tips, how-tos, cheat sheets, and more every week. I'll see you next week. The PESO model is a registered trademark of SpinSucks.